Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today I wanted to go over some news that cropped up yesterday. And basically, that is that originally, over this past summer, director Richard Donner passed away. I did a video on him. Very, very great director. Did a lot of really good movies in a lot of different genres. Kind of a Renaissance man type of director. I really liked a lot of his work, especially his work when he touched on horror. But one of the big things that he did do, which is another movie that I do enjoy, is Lethal Weapon. He did all four of the Lethal Weapon movies. And he was originally, before he passed away, he was slated to come in to direct the fifth film, which had been greenlit and had gotten Mel Gibson and Danny Glover to come back and reprise their roles as Riggs and Murdaugh. So basically after Richard Donner died, it was assumed that that project fell through, along with they were planning on doing a proposed Goonies 2, which he was also going to direct at the time. But now we've gotten news that Mel Gibson is apparently going to man the directing chair. Now, here's this is it's one of those weird situations where I understand why Mel Gibson would be the right choice to do this movie if Richard Donner was not around. Obviously, because he starred in all four of the original films, and because he has turned into a very good director himself. So it would make sense that he would be somebody who would sit in the directing chair and would also star in the film, which again is not something that's necessarily out of the ordinary for directors to act in their own movies. Um, but at the same time, I think doing a Lethal Weapon 5 is not a great idea in general. And again, I went over that when the announcement for this film came out. Was that they're doing it, or at least it appears anyway, that they're doing everything right in terms of developing this movie, except for the fact that we don't need a fifth Lethal Weapon movie. I don't think you need to wind up doing that just to make a quick buck. And again, we've now found out that apparently this movie is not even going to cinemas; it is going directly to HBO Max. So it's not even a movie that they planned, or maybe they originally planned to release it theatrically when Donner was still alive, but now they don't for whatever reason. Again, that was something that we actually didn't know until recently. Um, and well, I shouldn't say that it's a definite. Um, but basically, it's expected that it will wind up going straight to HBO Max. Because again, they're trying to build up that platform. They want to try and get as much stuff onto there as possible. Again, kind of like a Netflix type of thing, where they're just pumping content into that service over and over and over to build it up and build that subscriber count so they can have that service that is in competition with stuff like Netflix and Disney Plus. So like I said, I understand why it's being made. I just don't like the fact that it's being made. That's my only real problem with the production. Now, I'd like to be pleasantly surprised with something like this. I'd love to go into this as a Lethal Weapon movie and enjoy the film, which, to be honest, I might. It's really impossible to tell right now just because of the how far we're off from actually seeing footage and stuff like that. You know, we know nothing about the movie other than the fact they got Mel Gibson and Danny Glover to come back, and originally they had Richard Donner coming back to direct. The other thing is Mel Gibson also revealed in an interview that Richard Donner, when they were doing the production of this movie, the early pre-production, because Richard Donner was involved in writing the screenplay for this movie as well, he asked Mel Gibson if he would finish the movie should he die. And again, unfortunately, that did wind up happening. You know, obviously he did pass away. So Mel Gibson, in honor of him and what he asked him to do, is taking over the directing duties for this film. And I give Mel Gibson credit for that because this is not an easy thing to walk into, especially doing a movie in a series that was all directed by another director, and that director also happened to be one of your close friends. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like Steven Spielberg and AI when it came to him and Kubrick. You know, it was more of a passion project, or, you know, kind of, I guess, when Spielberg came back to direct Indiana Jones 4. I feel like that was just kind of George Lucas begging him. But, you know, I understand why he's doing it, and it is honorable to Richard Donner that he is following through on that. Again, assuming all those conversations did actually take place. Sometimes we find out about weird things after the fact, but I don't think that's something that Mel Gibson would lie about. Um, but like I said, I'm very interested to see what Mel Gibson can do with the property because again, he's no stranger to action and he's been in all these movies. He knows the Riggs character. Um, so it's not like it's anything that he's unfamiliar with. He's not coming into this green. He's coming into this knowing basically everything that Richard Donner knew, which again is a good thing. The only other thing that they do have is apparently Donner himself had gotten pretty deep into the scriptwriting process at the time of his death. Which means they're probably going to use whatever he did write, whatever outline and rough draft he was working on, to probably be the basis for the film. And again, I feel like if Mel Gibson is coming in to do that for him to direct this film, that he would definitely take those things into serious consideration. Um, there's that. The other thing that I'm worried about with this production too is that, and we've seen it in the past with other things, is that Warner Brothers loves to meddle in their own productions. Usually it is detrimental. Usually it is terribly detrimental. Again, we've seen that in recent years with some of Snyder's films. Um, but it's not something that I think that they. It's one of those lessons that I don't think they've learned. It's something that I think they still do, and they do to a damaging degree on some of their movies. I think they've learned to be hands off with certain things. I hope they're hands off with this. I hope they kind of just leave it because it is experience. They are experienced people who are doing this film. Again, the director, the stars, most of the people in this movie are, and who are probably working on it as well, are not people that are novices in Hollywood. They know how to make a film. So it's not something that I feel is in bad hands in terms of the creative people behind it. It's just that it's not in good. I don't know if it's in great hands in terms of a studio, unfortunately. And again, this is Warner Brothers proper that would be doing this because it is good, would be going straight to HBO Max, which is their service. So like I said, that's just kind of my opinion on it. And again, we have gotten the news that Mel Gibson will be replacing Richard Donner to direct Lethal Weapon 5. And like I said, those are just kind of my feelings on the subject. I'm not really a big fan of making a fifth Lethal Weapon film, but again, from a production standpoint, they appear to be going about it the correct way, even after Richard Donner has passed. And again, this is going with the quote from Mel Gibson, where Richard Donner said, "If I die before it gets made, you have to make it." If that was really one of his final requests, then I understand why this movie has to be made, even though I'm not a great big fan of it or of the idea of it. But like I said, I really do hope I'm pleasantly surprised with this. I do enjoy the other four films, some of them to varying degrees, but the first one is still the best one to me. But like I said, that's just kind of my opinion on the whole thing. I want to know what yours is. Are you excited that this movie is back on and that Mel Gibson is now signed on to direct? Or are you kind of like me where you're kind of apprehensive about a fifth Lethal Weapon movie? Put your thoughts in the comments below. As usual, I like to read them. Hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?